I lost a lot of respect for him with the way he acts. I feel like he's walking with a crown on his head. He thinks he's something. I don't like him. There's no reason to like him. It's not his fault that the judges gave him the fight. So the right thing to do for Ward is to be a man in the ring, you know? I didn't deserve those belts. Have Sergey keep them. And we're going to have a rematch and we're going to see who's the best in the rematch. But instead he acts like a coward, like he really won the fight, like he's all that. And that's what I didn't like. I just saw him in the lobby for the first time since the fight. Then I saw him today. The way he looks at me, I just really want to punch him in the head. I don't have nothing to talk to him about. Those are the words of Sergey Kovalev, obviously speaking about his rival, Andre Ward, in the lead up to their long-awaited rematch. Now, I've got a lot of things to say here about Kovalev's attitude and the stuff that he's coming out with. Kovalev is a very, very mean guy. He's a nasty piece of work, and I'm talking about him in the arena of boxing. I don't know what he's like outside of boxing, but as a fighter in the arena of boxing, in terms of when he's in training camp, his attitude towards opponents, the way he is in the ring, he's a mean, horrible, nasty guy. The fact that he says he don't like Andre Ward, I would be more shocked if he said he did like Andre Ward. Kovalev has a deep dislike for most of his opponents, in case you hadn't noticed. And in my view, this is what makes Sergey Kovalev such a destructive puncher. I've spoken about this in the past, and you know, I can sit here gassing about myself all day. It really don't mean anything, but you can take it or leave it. But for what it's worth, in my younger days when I used to box, I was a very good puncher. And that's why when I talk about what it takes to be a good puncher, and a lot of it is genetic, a lot of it comes from having an aptitude for hitting hard. But at the same time, in my experience and my view, being a terrific puncher has a lot to do with your attitude, the way that you think. Because the way that you think will manifest itself in the way that you train, the way that you hit the bag, the way that you hit the pads, the way you shadow box, and that will manifest in the way that you spar and therefore manifest in the way that you fight. And in my experience, both for me and watching many devastating punches over the years as professionals, I've experienced and observed that people with a dark personality, a dark side to their personality, a burning hatred, those kind of guys who have this vicious, spiteful streak in their nature are often the guys who turn out to be devastating punchers. Not always. There are some horrible guys that can't punch. But if you look at the amount of guys who are real serious, not only world-class punchers, but sometimes historically great punchers, these are guys with very, very dark sides to their personalities. Sometimes dark sides that you won't see them talk about in interviews, but it's there. So the fact that Kovalev is so bitter and so mean with the things that he comes out with and says, to me, that is normal for a puncher of Sergey Kovalev's caliber. He just comes out with the kind of stuff that a lot of other big punchers don't come out with. A lot of other big punchers try and be politically correct about it and not really manifest the dark side of their personality in interviews. But Sergey Kovalev does. So all the stuff he's saying, you know, it is what it is. That's what I expect a devastating, vicious man to be saying. Now, he's coming out and saying things which really, from a logical point of view, don't really make much sense. They're not really realistic. I mean, what fighter is going to come out and say, yeah, I lost the first fight, even though I've got the belts, let me give the belts back and we have the rematch? Nobody's going to say that. Because at the negotiating table, if you've already said that you've really lost, and I'm going to give the belts back, we're going to have the rematch anyway, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage financially when you have that kind of attitude. So even just from a business perspective, it makes no sense for Ward to be coming out and saying all the things that Kovalev claims he should be saying. It's nonsensical. On top of that, top-level professional fighters have a glasses half full attitude. They always see fights going down more favorably for themselves than maybe a neutral person would. Not always, but the majority of the time, I would say. They'll go for a tough round and they won't really remember the good shots the opponent landed. They'll be focusing on the good shots that they landed. That's why the fighters themselves are not the most objective people, because they have a glass is half full attitude about what they did in a fight. And that's the attitude that you see from both Kovalev and Ward. From a logical point of view, you would say to Kovalev, look, well, what do you expect Ward to do? This guy's been winning all his life. He has a glass is half full attitude. So of course he's going to look on the bright side of his performance, just like you're looking on the bright side of your performance. Both of you guys are more similar in certain ways than you perhaps realize. But the fighter is in his feelings, he's in the moment, and he's not thinking about objectivity. So Kovalev is saying what he's saying. Now the question I'd like to ask you guys is Sergey Kovalev a bit too angry going into this rematch? And will that anger backfire on him? I remember when Manny Pacquiao lost the first fight to Tim Bradley. I felt that that fight was a horrible robbery. I felt that Pacquiao won that fight decisively. I thought it was absolutely nothing like the Ward-Kovalev fight, which I felt was very close. The Pacquiao-Bradley first fight was outrageous as far as I'm concerned in terms of scoring. I had Pacquiao winning that fight comfortably. But going into the rematch, in fact, even in the immediate aftermath of the first fight, there was no bitterness from Pacquiao. He went into the second fight calm, no bitterness, no resentment. If there was any bitterness or resentment, he kept it locked away deep inside. But the way he actually fought in the second fight, to me, he seemed calm, measured, and he fought a strategic fight. He really outboxed Tim Bradley in that second fight rather than overpowering him. In fact, he was more aggressive in the first fight. So, is that the kind of attitude that Sergey Kovalev should have, the kind of Pacquiao attitude in a Bradley rematch where he's calm and he's like, it's cool, I got this. I don't need to be angry at this guy. The judges did what they did, but I'm going to get him. I'm going to show you I'm the better man. I've often said that in boxing, when you allow emotions to get involved and get the better of you, it's usually to your detriment. It's better if you're cold and calculating and calm rather than fiery and emotional, because that's when you can make mistakes. Will Sergey Kovalev, Sergey Kovalev is a mean guy, as I've already said in this video. He likes to destroy, punch holes in people. But perhaps when the bell rings, he'll be cool, calm, and collected, and surgical, clinical. Or maybe he'll have the bit between his teeth and get a bit too emotional. Will that backfire on him? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Is he actually playing into Andre Ward's hands in this rematch? Because Ward seems cool. Yeah, he's a little resentful about the way he's been treated by the media and certain sections of the boxing community. But in terms of Kovalev, he seems very cool and calm. Maybe he's a bit apprehensive about getting hit by Kovalev. Maybe he's a bit nervous. But in terms of anger, I don't really see it there. I did speak in a previous video about Ward maybe not giving Kovalev the credit he deserves, maybe being a bit deluded in terms of the damage that Kovalev inflicted on him. And I still do go with that. But at the same time, at least he's not angry with Kovalev. If he is a bit nervous of Kovalev's power, maybe that'll be a good thing for Andre Ward. He's less likely to be reckless, I would have thought, if he's a bit nervous. If he's trying to convince himself that Kovalev's power ain't that bad, you know, is that a better position to be in than being in Kovalev's position mentally, where he's thinking, Ward is nothing. I only need to train 2 hours a day. I'm going to go in there and punch holes in him. I hate him. I'm full of anger. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hopefully I've given you some food for thought. It's happening. I'm out.